Okay, so recently someone was asking me in my Instagram DMs basically about negative thinking and how to let go of negative thoughts, or this person was basically explaining to me that they struggle with negative thoughts and asked a bit about my experience and if antidepressants are something that have helped me with that in the past. So I thought I would make a video because I like to explain things in detail and I like to go very, very in depth, especially when it comes to topics of the mind. And this topic in particular is quite close to my heart because I struggled with negative thinking for years. It became a way of being, it became a way of life. I would just think that that's just how I am, that I just think negatively, that I'm just pessimistic, or that I would actually tell myself I'm a realist because that's just how it is in my life. My life just sucks. And so that is why I think negatively, because my life sucks. So that is what I would think. And it actually feels like a whole lifetime ago. It feels like a completely different life that I was living. So I thought I would share what basically helped me to stop my negative thinking, or to evolve out of that way of being, and to grow into a different way of being, and to change my mindset and start thinking more positively and more optimistically. So there's two main things that have helped me get out of negative thinking, change my mindset. These two things are basically habits that you have to make. So the first one is journaling and the second one is meditation. So initially when I started journaling, I wanted to have a space to just kind of get my thoughts out of my head. So journaling is actually very, very helpful because you have to really think about and you have to articulate when you write things down. And writing things down on paper is different to typing it, so I would recommend writing. But when you are writing on paper and when you are expressing yourself and when you are basically explaining in a journal what happened, if it was an event that happened, or if it's something that you've been struggling with, or if it's something that you need to do, whatever it is that you're writing about, it doesn't matter. It's more about you just busy explaining and basically taking it out of your mind. So from thoughts and writing it out, what that does is it actually requires your brain to process it so that you can explain it on paper. Because oftentimes we'll have all these thoughts that are racing and it feels like a negative feeling, and they kind of just feed each other. So the negative feeling and then the negative thoughts, and then you kind of just go down this negative spiral. So what you're doing when you're journaling is you are stopping that constant feeling and you are just busy channeling it into your writing. You are using that energy to explain how you feel. So that is what I recommend. I recommend journaling because it helps your brain to process how you are feeling. And oftentimes we don't even really know what it is we're feeling. We just feel negative. So we don't know, is it anger? Is it fear? Is it shame? Is it guilt? Is it worry? Is it stress? Explain how you feel. Explain how the feeling feels in your body. Explain what you're thinking about. Explain why you feel that way. Explain what it is that's causing that feeling. And by doing that, you are processing, you're acknowledging how you feel. You're acknowledging the feeling in your body. You're acknowledging the thoughts that are leading to those feelings. And what does this all do? This all fosters self-awareness. And if you have self-awareness, if you have awareness of it, only then can you make a change in your life. You can't change something that you're not aware of. So journaling helps you to process how you're feeling, to put it down on paper. And oftentimes just doing that, you will find that to be very healing. And if that's not the type of journaling you want to do, if that's a bit too intense and you want to save that for later, I definitely recommend, especially if it's challenging, to really just look at that. Just use that as an opportunity to evaluate what it is that's coming up inside you. Ultimately, it is difficult and it's not easy to feel those feelings, but acknowledging it and becoming aware of it is the only way that you can actually change it. So it starts with self-awareness. It starts with becoming aware of what it is that you are feeling in the first place, and then what's causing that feeling, and then dealing with that, you know, and there might be more to deal with. But this is the process. If we want to change our lives and if we want to have a more positive life, then we do have to do the work to make that happen. You know, change doesn't just, well, it does actually. Change does just happen sometimes. But in terms of like inner healing and inner work, you know, changing your life for the better, it is going to require you to do your part, basically. So if you don't want to do that type of journaling, and if you want to use journaling in another way, I would also recommend gratitude journaling. So every morning when I started journaling, I would set myself a habit that every single day I'm going to journal, no matter what. Every single day I'm going to journal because I want to make this a habit. And at first I had this icky feeling towards gratitude journaling. I'm like, that's so dumb. Like, why write it out? Like, I'm grateful for the same things every day. Like, that's what I would tell myself. It's actually not true. When I started to practice this, I would find that every day is actually very unique, and every day there's something different to be grateful for. Yes, you know, the same things would probably apply that did the day before. Like, I'm grateful to live in a safe home, and tomorrow I'm probably still going to be grateful to live in a safe home. But each day has its own unique thing. And so gratitude journaling really helped me to make a habit of journaling, but also it helped me to start thinking more positively. Because when you're gratitude journaling, no matter what state you are in before you go into the journaling, as soon as you start to sit down and think about all the things that you are grateful for, all the things that are positive in your life, all the things that you have to be thankful for, that immediately shifts you into a positive space. So I would recommend doing that in the morning if you can. If you don't have time to journal, even just take a few minutes to acknowledge your gratitude, to think, oh, okay, wow, I'm really grateful for these amazing birds outside that are busy chirping right now. I'm grateful for my amazing cup of coffee in the morning. Try to find something simple. So that also just sets you up again to start focusing on the positive in your life, to start focusing on what you do have, what you are grateful for, what is positive in your life, instead of focusing on the negative or focusing on what's going wrong, or focusing on what is missing in your life. So it just helps you to shift the focus, shift the perspective. So that's another thing, is just to think about how much of your energy are you spending on thinking negative thoughts, because ultimately we do get to choose what it is that we focus on. We can already start to recognize what these thoughts are, and this is why self-awareness is important. Then we can stop ourselves from continuing that cycle. As soon as you can feel that you're getting into a negative thinking loop, you need to acknowledge, this doesn't feel good for me. This doesn't feel good for me. What can I focus on instead? Or what can I do to maybe see this situation from a different perspective? One that is a bit more, you know, neutral, or one that is a bit more positive. And that isn't easy, and it definitely depends on the situation. And the point isn't to always, you know, stop negative thinking. A lot of the times we need to acknowledge and feel what it is, because if we avoid it, if we just focus on positive thinking, then we end up missing the lesson, and we miss the point of what's there and what it's trying to teach you. So becoming aware of that is the first step. But you don't want to ruminate in it. You don't want to sit in the negativity. So it's important to feel what you're feeling, and it's an important thing to acknowledge what you're feeling. And if it's negative, then ultimately you don't want to just ruminate on it. You don't want to focus on it. You need to acknowledge it. You need to feel it. And then you need to make a conscious choice to start to focus on what you can control and what is going well in your life and what you can, you know, improve on. And that way you can kind of just shift your focus. The second thing that has been absolutely fundamental and completely life-changing has been meditation. So when I started hearing about meditation, it was one of those things that I would roll my eyes at. I'd be like, what's the point? I'm just sitting there doing nothing. How is that helping me? And I would even get annoyed, you know, when my sister would tell me about mindfulness or about being present. I'd be like, oh, whatever. And it's crazy. It's crazy, crazy, crazy. I never thought I'd be here telling you this. But meditation has completely changed my life. I will forever, forever, forever say that, you know, meditation has completely changed my life. So how did meditation change my life? Basically, what happens in meditation is that you sit down, you withdraw your attention and your energy and your focus from everything external, and you close your eyes and you focus on your breath. And as you do that, inevitably you're going to get aggravated, you're going to get irritated, you're going to get annoyed. And all of that is there to show you something. All of that is there for you to just become aware of, okay? So the focus in meditation is not to completely quiet your mind. That's definitely a goal, but you shouldn't fight with yourself in meditation, because often you're just going to get more aggravated. So when you sit down and you close your eyes and you just focus on your breath, if you try not to think, or if you try to just, you know, do one thing or another, you will maybe irritate yourself a bit. And basically what I would recommend is start with just becoming aware of your thoughts. So when you're sitting there, inevitably you're probably going to get pulled into the thought, right? So you'll be sitting there and then you'll start thinking about what you need to do at work today, or you'll start thinking about the email that you forgot to send, or you'll start thinking about the email that you need to send, or you'll start thinking about what you're going to have for breakfast, or you're going to think about the argument you had yesterday, or you're going to think about maybe, you know, something difficult that you are going through or have been going through for a while. There's going to be thoughts that come and pull you in terms of they take your attention, and then you're sitting there thinking about that thing. So when you're sitting there thinking about that thing, you're no longer meditating, okay? So the idea is to observe it, see that you got pulled in. So see, oh, okay, I'm thinking about breakfast. Okay, I'm thinking about breakfast. Let me go back to my breath. As you do that, as you become aware of the fact that you got pulled in, or as you become aware of the fact that a thought has come up, all you need to do is acknowledge. All you need to do is acknowledge that the thought has come up, and then let it go. So the thought comes up, it maybe grabs your attention, you acknowledge that that's happened, and then you let it go and you go back to focusing on your breath. So just keep coming back to your breath. That is the practice of meditation, is to just keep coming back to your breath, keep coming back to your breath. Focus on the feeling of the breath coming in to your stomach. Feel the feeling of the breath leaving and coming out. And you know, if you practice and if you practice and if you practice and if you practice, you will eventually get to the point where you have learned how to let go of your thoughts and there is complete stillness. And when you reach that point, you will understand what I mean when I say that meditation is truly next level, and it takes you to a complete state of bliss. Because when you are in that state of having let go of all of these thoughts and all of these feelings, when you've practiced long enough, you can take that skill into your life, your day-to-day life, and then you don't get wrapped up in anything. You don't get reactive to anything. You don't get pulled in. The more you practice this, the better you get at it. And how has that helped me? So basically that helps you to learn to let go of your thoughts. Let go of the thought, let go of the thought. And then again, you can do that in your day-to-day life. So when you have that negative thought come up, you can learn to let it go. And so making a habit of practicing meditation, and I have made a video on how to start meditating. Please go watch it if you want to learn how to start meditating. The more you practice this, the better you get at this. And ultimately, that really does help you to learn how to let go of negative thinking one by one. And then slowly over time, you gradually get better at it and it becomes a new way of being. So meditation has completely changed my life. It's completely evolved my way of being, my way of thinking. So I highly recommend it. And in terms of if antidepressants help with that, I don't believe they do, because even on my antidepressants, I still had a negative mindset. And antidepressants, like I've said before, they don't really help to address the core issue. They help to balance you hormonally, and this was my experience, but they don't help you to fix the underlying problem. They don't help you to address the negative thinking. That requires, going to therapy or doing something to evolve out of that way of thinking. You have to develop a new way of thinking. And I use journaling and meditation for this. I also use therapy. So I don't believe that antidepressants help with negative thinking necessarily, but they did help to stabilize me, just so that I wasn't as, like my emotions would fluctuate a lot more. So, I didn't stay on them for too long. It was a couple of years. And then I went off them because they ultimately did their job. They got me, balanced when I was in a very difficult state. But long term, they didn't really fix the problem. So that is my video for today. Thank you so much for being here with me. And I'm sending you so much peace and love.